In America, you can no longer say Merry Christmas. Yet, in a Muslim nation, they have the world's most expensive Christmas tree. And the liberals say Christmas is about a homeless couple. What is going on in America with Christmas? Welcome to Vantage Point.
Vantage Point is brought to you by American Vision. For more information on today's show, check out How to Argue with a Liberal and Win. You will find it at americanvision.com.
All right. On my right is Gary DeMar, President of American Vision. On my left, Joel McDermott, and Director of Research at American Vision. All right, gentlemen, Christmas in America. Do we have a crisis? Is Christmas going away? It's politically incorrect. What do you make of attacks on Christmas today?
Well, it's an inevitable thing that every year we come across this. There has been some tension among retailers as to how they're going to handle the issue of Christmas, whether they're going to put a Christmas tree up. I know there was a bank, I don't know if it was Wachovia, that wouldn't put a Christmas tree up and right. So forth. And it's all about not offending other people. I find this rather strange. I guess you had an experience at a UPS store. Why don't you go ahead and tell that?
Well, went to the UPS store, and I've known these people for a long time, we know our families and so forth, and they said Merry Christmas to me because they know that I'm a Christian, but they said we can't say Merry Christmas unless the customer says Merry Christmas first. And I said, this was handed down from UPS corporate, essentially. So that's how sensitive. We have a small percentage of the population. Here, like you said, UPS is probably busiest time of the year is Christmas.
Yeah, they've hired, I forget, thousands of workers for this particular.
For this reason, we can't say Merry Christmas because we may offend a very, very small.
Yeah, and they try to mask all this by calling it the holidays. It's Happy Holidays.
Right.
And I always said to people, do you know what the word holiday means? Which is actually, pretty specific. It's a holy day.
Yeah.
So you're willing to give up Christmas, but you're actually saying that it's a holy day. Mm-hmm. Then one of the things I've always wanted to do, I wish we could find a lawyer to do this for us. So if you have a lawyer out there who would like to take this case, here's what I would propose we do. Would be that all government employees cannot get Christmas off because it's a designated religious holiday, and you have to take some other day off. And then you would also have to do the same thing with Sunday. You can't get Sunday off because it is a designated religious observance. So you would have to work on Sunday and take some other day off.
They might actually go for that.
Well, hey, let's fine. It's fine with me.
That's funny. That's exactly what they tried in the French Revolution. Well, they abolished Sundays, and I think they tried to make it one day in 10 they would rest. And,
right. And they were, at least they were consistent.
It completely disrupted society was the issue, at least the accounts I've read.
They started the calendar over with a New Year 1 so that they would get away from the BCAD idea. Right. They've tried to do that in academic circles today by BCE and CE,
right.
Before the Common Era and Common Era. And so this is all very self-conscious, but they won't give up their Christmas day off that we as taxpayers, we're paying them for that day off.
And probably Christmas bonuses as well, and all the other perks that come along.
So let's push the consistency. Greg Bahnsen always used to talk about pushing the antithesis, forcing them to live with the implications of their stated worldview, stated presuppositions.
They want their cake and eat it too.
Right.
Now, what bothers me though are the Christians who want to use some legal. They get all upset because the government won't say Merry Christmas, and this is a tragedy, and they get upset because some big corporate business will not let their employees say it. But it's a free country,
right?
And who are you to say we should make a law to force someone to say? Right. That's the problem with many of the Christian mindset today is that they want to have a legal remedy for everything,
right.
And that's just the opposite of what the Bible teaches. If this person doesn't say Merry Christmas back to me, that's one thing. But they're also not allowed to come back. If I say Merry Christmas, they're not allowed to come back and say, your God doesn't exist, or they'd be fired in a heartbeat. So let it go. Quit trying to have everything. By the way, most of these people who make those arguments, send their kids to public schools and the whole list of things that the Bible opposes, and live their lives in a number of ways, but they want that outward little bit of Christianity to remain in society so that we can feel like we're still a Christian nation.
The parts that are convenient.
Yeah, that's
Right.
I think that is probably the most, one of the greatest points to make of what Christians fight about.
Right.
They'll fight about the whole Merry Christmas thing, but they're sending their children to an institution 10 months out of the year, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, that is officially unchristian from beginning to end.
Yeah, officially Darwinistic.
Right, and the money that they're using, that their education is being paid for by essentially
Other people.
confiscated money.
Right.
They don't have a problem with that, but they certainly have a problem with people not saying Merry Christmas. I mean, it's crazy.
Of course, so you guys sound like you're opposed to saying Merry Christmas?
I am opposed to saying Merry
Yeah, that's
Christmas
what
to
I
anybody. No, not opposed to it. It's just
Not because he thinks it's bad, it's just that he's a Scrooge.
Oh, well, we can do that.
No, I'm opposed to trying to force anyone to make someone.
Right.
The Christians are always so worried about making other people do things and not doing anything themselves. That's one of the big problems in
What
society
about this
today.
Christmas tree in the United Arab Emirates? It's the world's most expensive Christmas tree. They have, in the lobbies of their hotels, they'll have a gold vending machine, literal gold vending machine, gold cell phones that cost $50,000.
Well, that goes back to the issue. We're talking about UPS made a decision that its employees can't impose on people in that way. But here's a hotel. You're saying they were worried about the tiny percentage of people they might offend. But here's a hotel that realizes that most of its clients probably expect a Christmas tree. And of course, since they're a big rich hotel, they went all out for it. They're hanging diamond things all over it. To me, it's crazy, but I mean, if they realize they want to please their clients. And so you have a free market solution to the great Christmas debate. Let it go. It'll work itself out. Practice your religion, stick to your ethics, and do it your way, and don't worry about what other people
We're really
do.
talking about freedom here.
Yeah, let the
course.
marketplace decide. Let's say I have a restaurant,
Right.
and I put a sign up and say, we're gonna hold a special Christmas dinner here, or Christmas Eve dinner, whatever the case might be. And here's another over here. We don't say Merry Christmas. We think it's just a regular holiday. There's no religious connotations to it. And let them work themselves out in the marketplace. I guarantee you, people are going to go to the festive Christmas celebration, listening to the carols, if there are any, the traditional Christmas music. This restaurant over here is going to close down on Christmas Day, and they're going to, let the market decide. Christians just need to, if they really want to demonstrate what the Christmas season is, and then do it in a festive, welcoming, open way, and I guarantee you your business will, in fact, increase as a result of all
And
that.
if you're going to make yourself a dependent in some way on the government or on a big corporation, don't complain when they hand the rules down, because you're benefiting by agreeing to be in that situation. For example, the bank you mentioned. I heard a story where there was a bank that said no Christmas trees, but a local branch put one up. The manager decided, and they got word from above, take it down. And there was this, headline in the media about this, and the implication was this is so bad. Well, that bank's not complaining when on the end of its fiscal cycle, however they do things, that they're able to borrow money from the larger corporate bank. They're able to keep their expense accounts going, or their accounts running the way they need to because of their relationship to that big bank. In other words, they're taking the money. So if you take the money, you live by the rules. That's the bottom line, and it's a good rule for government too. You take their money, you live by their rules.
Now the liberals are at it again. They like to use the Bible when it's convenient, and now they're saying that Christmas is really about a homeless couple.
Yeah, and I've always thought, any liberals are strange creatures. They will use the Bible when it is most beneficial to them. In fact, there was a story. Joe Scarborough says, "Judge not," then calls Kyle and Dement unchristlike. And so Joe Scarborough, on his show, all of a sudden the Bible is meaningful to me. Jesus in Matthew chapter 7, verse 1 says you're not supposed to judge. So he'll take that and he'll use it when it's appropriate for him to use it. doesn't read the next verse, which says, Jesus doesn't say don't judge at all. It says judge consistently, judge with righteous judgment, as he mentions elsewhere. But this is every Christmas season, I think, with this budget problem impasse that we're having. Every year you hear about how the Christmas story is about a homeless couple and so forth, which is nonsense.
They weren't homeless.
They weren't homeless, and the reason they had to leave...
It's just the opposite.
Yeah, the reason they had to leave their home, and Joseph had to leave his work, was because of a government decree.
That's right.
The reason there wasn't any room in the inn or whatever the case might be, but it's probably not a very good translation, is because, of course, the people weren't prepared for this. This is a typical government, creating some policy, and then everybody else has to scramble to pick up on how to fix all of this stuff. And yesterday we were meeting with a group because of this healthcare thing that's coming by and all these other types of things, and nobody knows what to do. They issue these decrees. We're going to write it in stone here, and as a result, because we wrote it in stone, it's going to work. And this is just typical of what happens. But they weren't homeless, Joseph had a job. Mary comes back to the home. There are all kinds of things involved in all of this story. I've written an article. It's up on American Vision's site. The Christmas story is not about a homeless couple.
And it was not just a government decree, it was a government decree for a census so that they could tax.
They could raise taxes.
Exactly. I mean, it's so how, and Jesse Jackson, Hillary Clinton, and other liberals have used this phrase is that Christmas is about a homeless couple. And
so they can pass more spending.
So they can, to make us feel guilty. Oh, yeah, poor Jesus and Mary and Joseph.
But the innkeeper that gave him the stable wasn't a government official. It was his private.
That was private, and not only that, but my guess is that Mary and Joseph had money.
Right.
They had money to go somewhere. Yeah. It's just that the places were filled up, and they couldn't use that money.
And the irony here also is that these same people who are throwing Jesus and Mary in our face as a homeless couple are also the same people who are fighting tooth and nail to keep us from saying Merry Christmas in the public square.
For the nativity scene taken down.
And that Mary should have aborted.
Yeah. So don't say Merry Christmas, but Christmas is about a homeless couple.
It's so funny. We couldn't make this stuff up if we had to.
It makes for a great show, though. Well, again, Merry Christmas to you, and welcome. Join us again for our next Vantage Point. Thank you.
For more information on today's show, check out How to Argue with a Liberal and Win, edited by Joel McDermott. Countering dozens of liberal arguments with logic and tact, How to Argue with a Liberal and Win is a crash course on defending the principles of liberty from her enemies, and gives realistic, educated answers to some of the most persistent cliches of socialism. You will find it at AmericanVision.com.
Ready?
You're going to introduce us like you didn't do last time?
I got a Scrooge on my left and a Scrooge on my right. Okay.
Stand up, sit down,
and the goose in between.
All right.